Okay, everyone. Nice to be here. Nice to be with you. So, first of all, let me thank Remitbee, who is organizing. And Remitbee is a company that allows Canadians, people who are in within Canada, to send money abroad. And they have great exchange rates. So, if this is something that may be of interest to you, I strongly suggest that you go and check them out. So now let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an immigrant myself. I'm originally from France. I grew up in Paris and I moved to Canada in my early 20s. So on that time, I wasn't able to meet enough requirements to apply for permanent residency. So what I have done is that I studied here. I finished my study here, my legal studies in Canada. Then I got a degree and then I worked for 1 year, accumulated enough points, and then was able to apply for permanent residency. So I have been practicing immigration law for the past 7 years. I'm an immigration lawyer in Toronto, and I help everyone who meets the requirement and who want to come and immigrate to Canada. So immigration can be temporary or can be permanently. So I have received a bunch of questions for you guys. I will go through them without any specific orders. If you have any question, meanwhile, you can always text me in the bar on the left side. Okay, so obviously something that is really important for everyone is what are we doing? What is the impact of COVID on immigration? So right now, borders are pretty much closed, but not necessarily as a strict matter for everyone. It means that some people can still come in Canada, but you still have to have a damn good reason to enter Canada, meaning having an essential purpose. And this you will have to justify and to explain it to the border officer when you enter Canada. So if you are currently a visitor, or if you are currently holding a study permit, or if you are currently holding a work permit, you still need to justify why it is important for you to be in Canada. So if you have a study permit, but your courses are currently online, it just makes no sense for an immigration officer to allow you in. If you have a work authorization that allows you to work from home, again, it's not going to be essential for you to specifically be in Canada. However, if you have family members in Canada, close family members, meaning husband, wife, children, grandparents, then, and if you are able to prove that link, that relationship, then you can enter Canada. Even if you manage to come to Canada, you still have to have a quarantine plan. We all have heard about that, and by now, it means that you have to justify to to a border officer that for 14 days you will be self-isolating. Okay, so some of you may have houses, some of you may have a unit just for you. The goal is to show that you will stick into that room for 14 days. You will have planned for your food and for your basic needs, basically. Okay. Now, something also important is that immigration has released a specific email that allows you to email them before you come to Canada. So that way, you will email them what the situation is and why you need to enter Canada. And then you will receive an email approving your request. And when you enter Canada, you should absolutely have that email with you. So let me see. I just want to copy paste it for you guys, so at least you have it. Here you go. Next question is, what profile is Canada looking for immigration purposes? So obviously, Canada is choosing its immigrants. So we are talking first of all about young people who are educated, who have a high level of English, and who have skilled experience. However, I see a lot of my clients who think that this is the only pathway, the only profile that Canada is looking for, but that's not correct. Canada is also looking for people with specific skills. So right now, for example, like Canada needs bakers, cooks, butchers, construction workers, machine operators, truck drivers, people who work within agriculture, and obviously tech people. So it's not because you don't have a high education that it means that Canada is closing its doors to you. So now, how do I know if I have chances under express entry? So express entry is just one of the many immigration programs that exist in Canada. So I just want to make it clear for everyone that even if you may not meet all the requirements of this program, maybe you will be able to apply under another program. Okay, so Canada counts about approximately 80 different immigration programs in Canada. As per express entry itself, it is based on points. How do you get your points? You get your points based on your age, based on your education, based on how many years of skilled work experience you had, and very important, based on your language tests. And when we speak about language, we speak about only English and French. So you have to also look at what were the point selection, the draws that were selected in the past. So right now we are looking around 445, 431 to 470. Okay, so usually if you are below like 430 is really kind of the cutting. It means that there is a lot of chances either one, you don't get selected, or that you will stay a long time in the pool of applicants. Okay, now how do I increase my points under express entry? So a lot of the clients that call me, they are already in the pool of applicants under express entries. However, they haven't been selected for many months, and now they are turning to me to get some tips on how to increase the points. So I just mentioned briefly how important language scores were. But a lot of people think that because we speak French or because we speak English, it means that we're going to excel in our test, which is not always the case. So number one tip is first to practice before even going to your test. So when I talk about test, it's the English, which is either the IELTS or the CELPIP. And I'm going to spell it for you because a lot of people haven't heard about CELPIP here. So it's exactly the same thing, the same process as the IELTS, but sometimes it's even cheaper. So I suggest that you look at both of these options. And number two is the TEF, le TEF for French. So you can find for free sample practice exams on Google. I strongly suggest that you book a time for yourself and that you practice before going to the exam. However, if you do not have enough points, then you should look at doing the test again. Like anything in life, you need practice in order to become good at it. And sometimes just half a point will make a huge difference in the overall, in the total express entry points that you may have. So don't be lazy, do it. Sometimes just 1 point makes the difference. The number two tip is obviously having a job offer. The one key in order to come to Canada is through a job offer. Doesn't matter where, as long as you have a job offer in Canada, there is a lot of chances that I will be able to find you a program under which you may be eligible to come to Canada. So it doesn't matter. Maybe I will bring you on the work permit first, and then you will be eligible to become a permanent resident, or you may even be able to become a permanent resident right away. So number three is sometimes you are, for example, in the middle of finishing a master's degree or a bachelor degree or a PhD even. So sometimes I will advise you to wait until you finish your program so that you get more points. So under express entry, the higher of an education you have, the higher points you have. Okay, so we can still start the process, gather the documents, review the documents, count your points, but sometimes it is key for you to finish your education, your post-secondary education first, and then apply. One of the other tips that I have is studying in Canada. So sometimes, unfortunately, I don't have any magical trick to give my clients, but if I think that they have the potential to be a great candidate for a study permit, then I'm going to advise them to think about choosing a program in Canada. Why? Because again, the fact of being in Canada, the fact of being educated and having a degree in Canada will boost your points as well tremendously. And the last one is add maybe another year of work experience back home. So sometimes if you have 1 year of experience versus 2 years of experience versus 3 years of experience, is going to make a difference in your points as well. So just to recap that, the question was how to increase my points under express entry. Before I know anything about your case, I have to tell you general tips. But the main ones are: number one, practice for your language tests. Number two, get a job offer. Number three, study in Canada. Number four, finish your study first back home. And number five, add another year of work experience, of skilled work experience back home. Okay. So I have a question here from Jenny. I have a specific question. Is there a path where a language test is not required? I finished my master in Vancouver last year, and I'm currently working here on the postgraduate work permit. So Jenny is currently in Vancouver studying in Canada in her master degree, and she has already finished her master degree, and she got a postgraduate work permit. So in Canada, after graduating, and if you graduate through a specific designated educational institution, so you have to be mindful of that, then you get a work permit that allows you to work for whoever you want, wherever you want. But her question is about the language tests. So unfortunately, my answer will be no, because at the end of the day, if you aim for permanent residency, it will be based on points. And in order to get points, you will need to pass a language test, or at least it is key in order to boost your points. So there isn't any program on top of my head specifically for BC that I can think of will not require a language test. Now, Jenny, you can email me a little bit more information about yourself, and I could look into that a little bit more and give you a precise answer if I think that there is anything, any magical tips here for you. So I'm giving you my email address. Just email me and tell me that it's Jenny from the YouTube video, and I will know. I just had another question for Praveen. I am a work permit holder in Quebec, so Canada, intercompany transfer from India. Is it possible for me to apply for express entry after my 1 year of work experience? So Praveen, express entry applies for all the provinces but Quebec. Quebec has its own express entry, which is called ARIMA. But even without that, you can also look at either the ARIMA or you can look at the PEQ, Programme de l'Expérience Québécoise for Skilled Workers. So you have two choices here. And actually under ARIMA, you may even be able to apply right now, although they are not selecting since January. Okay, so you have to be mindful of that. So your answer for express entry is no, because you are working and you are living in Quebec, you are not able to apply for express entry. but you have at least two other good options to look into. Okay, so one was ARIMA and one was PEQ, Programme de l'Expérience Québécoise. Another question that I have is there a higher chance to receive permanent residence status by applying in one province over the other? So it comes back to what I said at the beginning, that a lot of the future immigrants are only looking into express entry when there may be tons of other immigration programs available, specifically provincial immigration programs. So remember that Canada is divided in two: federal, which covers all Canada, which is express entry but for Quebec, and provincial programs. So yes, depending on your situation, you may have more chances under one province rather than the other. So what will make the difference? Number one, if you have a connection to that province. A connection means a job offer, work experience, family members. Okay. Number two is the work experience that you have. Like, are you back home? Are you a tech worker? Are you an HR manager? What is your occupation back home? What do you have experience in? And why it matters? Because each province, or most of the province, are releasing a list of occupations that are in demand in their province. Okay, and to top up a little bit, for those of you who are overseas and who are looking to come to Canada, one province that you should look into is Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan has a program called Saskatchewan Occupation in Demand. So it has released a list of occupations that they don't want. So number one, you have to look at if your occupation is within that list. If it is within that list, then you are not even eligible. But if you are not listed under that list and you have at least 1 year of post-secondary diploma, so post-secondary means college or university, if you have at least 1 year of post-secondary diploma and you have at least 1 year of work experience, of skilled work experience in the job that you are exercising currently, and that you can have at least IELTS 4, there may be a good chance that you may be selected under Saskatchewan Occupation in Demand. The beauty of it is that, contrary to other provinces, it doesn't necessarily require you to have ties to a connection to that province. And most importantly, it doesn't require you to have a job offer. So that being said, let's not forget that Saskatchewan is still a point-based system, meaning that even if the minimum requirement for language is IELTS 4, which is pretty basic, you still have to aim for way higher than that. Even if the minimum work experience is only 1 year, you still have to try to show that you have more than that. I have another question from Banky. What is the advantage of studying in a university over a postgraduate diploma? I mean, does it affect your job prospects and, of course, points for the PR? So the difference is you have to look at long-term what you want to do in Canada. What is your job prospects? So if you go and study a master's degree for an occupation that requires you to have experience, hands-in experience, is not going to be necessarily that relevant. And at the end of the day, I mean, employers are truly looking for someone who has the hands-in experience, maybe more than the education. So you have to truly look at what type of job you want to do in Canada and what does it truly requires. Do you really need to spend 3 years of your life, 4 years of your life studying, or can you just get it done with the 2 years postgraduate diploma at a college? Now, with regards to immigration, does it make a difference whether you go to a university degree or whether you go to a postgraduate diploma. For immigration, if you have a bachelor degree versus only a 2 years diploma, it will make the difference. But if you have a diploma and you have also another type of degree from back home that was at least 3 years, for 3 years, then it doesn't really matter whether you have a master degree or bachelor degree or you have 2 different degrees. So if I were you, I will truly look at not necessarily just what immigration wants, because the difference is not that much of a big deal, but rather what you want to accomplish in Canada. What is your field in Canada and what your field requires you to have in Canada? Okay, so for immigration and for the postgraduate work permit, again, a postgraduate work permit, as it sounds, is the work permit that you will get after you graduate. So it doesn't matter if you graduate from university or you graduate from a diploma. If you study for at least 2 years, doesn't matter, again, college or university, you will get a 3-year open work permit. So actually, Banky just answered. She said, yes, I have a 4 years Bachelor of Technology and 2.5 years of experience of software developers. Well, good for you. I mean, you have the education and you have experience that is truly in demand in Canada. So it doesn't matter where. If you get a job offer, or maybe even like another province who doesn't need a job offer, tech workers are in demand in Canada. So study, if I were you, I will go and study what would make sense for me. Sima is asking, I have a friend who immigrated from India to Toronto recently and applied for welfare. Can you explain me about welfare? What exactly do you want to know? Because welfare has nothing to do with immigration. Welfare is money that you get from the government if you cannot meet your cost, basically. So they have a specific process in order to go through that, and depending on how that person came to Canada. So for example, if she or he was sponsored in order to come to Canada, they may have impact for their immigration or for the sponsored person. So I need to have a little bit more detail about that, but it has nothing really to do with immigration unless they came as a sponsored person. Then I have a question. I have a husband who is a permanent resident, and who is sponsoring his wife who is currently in India. But the sponsorship application has already been sent, but it takes forever to be processed. So he wants to know how he can bring his wife to Canada while the spousal sponsorship application is being processed. So what she should do, she should apply for a visitor visa to come to Canada, because Indian citizen needs a visa in order to come to Canada. And she should mention that her husband is a permanent resident, and obviously give proof of your permanent residency, proof of your marriage, and proof that you have applied for PR, for spousal sponsorship. Okay, and explain clearly that she's coming as a visitor, but she's planning on staying, and because it has been taking so long, you want to be with her. Then I had another question with regards of what happens with regards to healthcare in Ontario. So when you have a work permit, are you covered by anything? So yes, you are covered if you have a closed work permit. There is a difference between having an open work permit and a closed work permit. An open work permit means that you can work for whoever you forever you want. But a closed work permit is with a specific employer, and the employer will be on your work permit. So you can have what is called OHIP, in Ontario, which covers all the basic health necessities that we may have. If you have a closed work permit, meaning if you have a work permit that has a specific employer on it, okay? And if you have an open work permit, then you have to wait until you get a job offer with a specific employer, then go to Service Canada in order to have OHIP, okay? Then something that I want to raise to a lot of you is the most important mistakes that I see happening that can have a huge consequences. So number one, and I already mentioned it, is people who, so I'm originally from France, so I see a lot of my clients are francophone. So they think that because they speak French, it means that they can handle the French test, but that's not always the case. So number one, practice for your language test. Number two is take the time to also consider including your spouse in your application, because your spouse, based on their education, work experience, and also language skills, could increase your points. Number three is to be mindful of doing your research with regards to your NOC code. Every single profession in Canada has a code associated to it. So if you make a mistake on what type of code is associated with your job, which is not always something that is easy to do, because we are not all lawyers or doctors. Sometimes we do a lot of different things at the same time. Then it could have your application could just be refused simply for that. Then a lot of the applications in Canada require you to first apply online and wait to be selected. But you have to be mindful that the application that you put in the first stage of the application, which is online, have to match the documentation that you will provide on the second stage. So if there is discrepancies here, which often happens, your application may just be refused due to misrepresentation. And sometimes it could be really a stupid mistake. Something else that I see a lot as well is misinformation about what federal skilled workers are. So if you are applying under express entry, there is a lot of chance that you are eligible to apply under the federal skilled worker program, which is under the express entry. Okay, express entry is not one program. Express entry has different streams. But in order to be eligible under the federal skilled worker program, you need to have at least 1 year of continuous work experience back home. Continuous is the key word here. So you cannot just have 6 months of work plus a gap plus 2 months plus another 4 months. It has to be continuous. So be mindful of that even before you apply, because if you do not meet that requirement, your application will be refused. So I have a question. So Banky, you are asking, so you recommend a 2-year diploma over 1 year, right? Because I will get 3-year postgraduate work permit. So Banky, I will prefer that you reach me by email, so I can count your point based on everything, not just based on your education. At this time, I do not know where you are from, what's your age, what is your marital status. I just know that you want to study in Canada and you have 2.5 years of experience. So this requires me a full assessment with you. Again, I'm going to give you my email. Please feel free to email me all these key information so I can provide you with a precise answer for you. So Praveen is asking, as I said earlier, I am on a work permit in Quebec. Is there any other program where I can apply for permanent residence in Canada, as the POQ requires French? There is the ARIMA. So you search Quebec ARIMA program, and you will find all the requirements. You have to be really careful with Quebec. You have to answer every single box really carefully. It does not necessarily need a French test, but again, you have chosen to be in Quebec, which is a province that put French speakers first. So for now, I do not see anything else because you have ties with Quebec, meaning that any other province you will apply with, they may not consider you because you are currently in Quebec. And provinces want to have connections, want to see applicants who have connections with their province to make sure that the applicants that they will give permanent residency to will not leave. I have another question which says, I want to immigrate to Canada via express entry. Do I need to show proof of funds? What's the required minimum? So if you apply under Federal Skilled Worker Program, then yes, you do need proof of funds. And you have to be mindful of truly showing that you have this exact amount and more. So if you are, just to give you an idea, if you apply alone, meaning that you don't have any dependents, you don't have any wife, husband, and kids, then it's about 13,000 Canadian dollar in your bank account. If you are two people, let's say a couple, it's about 16,000 Canadian dollars. If you are four people, let's say parents and two kids, you need about 24,000 Canadians in your bank account. Okay. Then I have a question with regards to what is an entrepreneur in Canada. So one of the programs that I work a lot with is with entrepreneurs who are from overseas and who are looking to come to Canada. But what does it truly mean to be an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur in Canada needs to open a business. It's not just a passive investment when you give money and you receive permanent residency. You actually need to open and manage a business in exchange of a work permit or sometimes directly permanent residency. So you can either buy a business, you can either create a new business, you can open a branch of your business. Let's say you already have a business running back home and you want to come to Canada and open a branch of that. So this is also a possibility. You can buy a franchise and obtain a work permit through that. The beauty of the franchise is, as you probably all know, a lot of things are given to you at the beginning. So there is for sure a screening stage, but you will have the location, you will have the marketing, you will have the product, everything that you do not have to care if you open a business from scratch. And there is also the startup visa program, which is booming currently because Canada is startup scene is very strong. So a lot of young people have specific, strong, innovative business ideas, and they may be able to come to Canada and obtain permanent residency through that directly. So I have a question from Amin. Is there any correlation between your country of origin and your express entry point? Does it matter whether you are from India, China, or the UK? No, it does not. And any idea on when federal express entry draws will go back to a twice per month regular? That's the million-dollar question. No, unfortunately, we do not know. This is internal to the government, and there is nothing yet released on that. So very much express entry is about first making sure that you meet the requirements. I see a lot of people who just think that entering information online is enough for them to be selected, and then they just wait and wait and wait. So do things, take the time, but do things properly right from the beginning. Gather the right information, and then apply. so that you know already what are your chances and move forward strategically. And then you have to wait and to hope to be, based on the points that you have, to be selected. Okay. Now, the key questions that I get every day is how to get a job offer in Canada. At this point in my life, I wish I was more of a recruiter. I should have opened that type of business before a law firm, simply because having a job offer kind of almost assure you to have a work permit or permanent residency in Canada. So it is key for a lot of people who do not meet the requirements of immigration programs to have a job offer. But a lot of people think that getting a job offer from overseas is impossible. So first, I want you to change your mind about that, because that's my job. That's what I do every day. I help people who have job offers to immigrate to Canada. So it means that it's possible. But first, like anywhere in the world, you need connections. Work on your connections. If you do not know anyone in Canada, then use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is key in Canada, and you can get as many connections as you can only through that. And it's also a platform to search for jobs. Something else is be mindful of what type of job you want in Canada. You cannot just throw a resume out there. Be as specific as possible and tailor your resume to that specific job that you want, and go and search for the companies that are within your scope of work and ask them questions. And something else that I advise also my clients is to look outside of the big cities of Montreal, Toronto, or Vancouver. Canada is huge. It's a continent by itself. So look at outside of these cities. Look at smaller provinces, look at smaller cities, and look even at rural regions. I mean, some places in Canada, employers cannot deliver because they don't have the manpower. So be persistent, be patient, and there are jobs. So you just need to look for it. I had a question with regards to the best option for accommodation. So I'm not sure where was this person located, or where this person is looking to live in Canada. I mean, accommodation, I don't have a specific answer for you. The question is really broad. There are for sure neighborhoods that are better than the others. There are provinces that are less expensive than the others. But just within Ontario, where Toronto is really expensive compared to just an hour away from here, compared to just 3 hours away from here. So just to give you an idea, Ontario is the size of France and Spain together. So it's not a small province. Canada is huge. So it depends on really what is your job. Does it require you to be located close, or can you work online? Can you work remotely? And then how much do you want to spend? What type of life do you want? Do you want to be in the city? Do you want to be outside of the city? How much do you want to spend? So this is truly a work that you have to do by yourself to eliminate some of the options and get clearer on where you could settle. With regards to study permits, I want to point out that it's not because you have an acceptance letter that it means that an acceptance letter from a school that it means that you will be approved. The acceptance letter is just the first stage of a study permit application. The second stage is to demonstrate to an immigration officer why Canada, why this university, and why this program. Why can you not study this program back home? What makes you want to come to Canada absolutely and study in this program. And what would you get from this program? Because a study permit, let's not forget that is temporary, meaning that you have to demonstrate that you have enough ties to your home country and that you will return to your home country. So even if it's not the case and you're looking to stay permanently in Canada, that's still a requirement of the study permit that you have to demonstrate. So do not choose any university, do not choose any program. Be mindful and be strategic right at the beginning. So what I help my client is from the beginning looking at what is their resume professionally, but also education-wise, and then advise them on which programs and which schools may be best for them. Let me see. I don't think I have any other question here. So guys, if you have any question for me, please leave it there. I went through a wide range of questions here today. For some of your questions, I will need to know more about your situation to be able to give you a yes or no and which strategy to adopt. So don't hesitate to contact me. And for the other ones, thank you very much for watching. It's a pleasure. Again, my name is Nava Elmi. I'm an immigration lawyer in Toronto. I cover all Canada, meaning that doesn't matter where you or your family members went to immigrate, I can help you with that. You have my email address and you have my complete name. You can look me up and find my website and contact me. Okay? If there isn't any more questions, then I'm going to stop the video. And thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.